Hello, English learners. Welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erika.
And today we have a very special lesson because we're going to be focusing a little bit more on grammar.
That's right. We're going to look today at the difference between past simple and past progressive, or sometimes called past continuous.
Exactly. So we are going to take a look at these two structures, which are a little bit confusing at times, and we're going to be practicing today. But before we get started, why don't we take a look at vocabulary preview?
Vocabulary preview.
Well, this dialogue is all about telling a story in the past, and we're going to hear two words in the dialogue that we need to understand the meaning of. So, the first one, ages.
Ages.
I haven't seen you in ages.
Okay, so if I tell you, I haven't seen you in ages.
Basically, you haven't seen me in a really long time.
Okay, so it's a way of exaggerating a little bit.
Yes. And this word ages we can use in many different ways, like, I've been studying English for ages.
Or, for example, I can say, I haven't been to the dentist in ages.
Oh, well, guess you better go, huh?
Right, so ages, a very long time.
Yes. Now, another phrase, to run into somebody.
So, to run into somebody.
I ran into Matt.
Okay, so if you ran into Matt the other day...
You met him unexpectedly.
Okay, so you didn't plan to meet, you didn't have a date.
Right.
You just casually on the street met.
Exactly.
Okay, so I ran into your friend the other day.
Okay, so two good words. We're going to hear both of these in the dialogue. So why don't we get started with dialogue first time?
Mike, what's going on, man? Long time no see.
Hey, Pat. Yeah, I haven't seen you in ages. How's it going?
Things are going great. It's funny running into you like this. Small world, huh? You know, just last week I ran into Matt as well.
Yeah? How's he doing?
He's doing well. We went out for a couple of beers, and the funniest thing happened.
Oh, yeah?
Well, we were talking and catching up on what we've been doing, talking about work and family, when all of a sudden, Matt saw a mouse run under the chair and he completely lost it. He started freaking out and screaming.
Really?
Yeah, and the funniest thing was, then he jumped onto his chair and started shrieking like a girl. He should have been there. Everyone was staring and laughing. It was hilarious.
All right, very good. So a funny story, and as we saw, a lot of stuff in the past, right?
That's right, and we're going to look at that in a moment, but first, we've got lots of exciting language to describe when somebody gets really emotional.
Okay, so why don't we start now with language takeaway?
Language takeaway.
Well, we have four words here. Now, in the dialogue, the guy in the story lost it.
So he saw a mouse and he completely lost it.
To lose it.
Okay, so when you lose it. What are you losing?
You're losing control of yourself and your emotion.
Okay, so you lose your temper maybe.
Yep.
So when I lose it, do I just get angry?
Angry or upset or even sad. But it's usually a negative feeling.
Okay, so it's not a good thing to lose it.
No. So, for example, when I showed my boss the sales figures, he completely lost it.
Okay, very good. So that's what lose it means. And now our second word is very similar but has a little bit of a difference.
That's right. He started freaking out.
Okay, so to freak out.
To freak out.
Now, freak out is very similar to lose it, right?
Yeah, but why don't we hear an example now of somebody freaking out?
It's just, no, okay? Forget it, all right? Just forget it. I don't even want to, I just want to forget it. I just want to forget it. I don't know. Okay, calm down. Woo! Calm down. I gotta calm down. I'm so happy. I can't even express it. I'm like, have I even finished one sentence? I'm like, woo! Give me a high five, baby.
All right, so we heard this person freaking out, and basically it could be losing control or losing your temper, but also in a positive way.
Right. So maybe you're really excited about something that's going to happen, so you're freaking out.
Okay, maybe you're very nervous or you're very excited. All right, and now moving on to our third word, stare.
To stare.
People started to stare.
Staring.
Okay, now when you stare at someone or at something.
You look at and focus at something for a really long time.
Okay, so you are looking at it, focusing on it.
Yeah, longer than usual.
All right, maybe when we were small, our parents taught us that it's not nice to stare at other people.
Exactly.
All right, so to stare.
And our final word, when Matt saw the mouse, he started shrieking.
All right, so to shriek.
Shriek.
Shriek. Very similar to that movie Shrek.
Oh, yeah, it sounds quite similar.
All right, but it's different. What does shriek mean?
Well, why don't we listen to an example?
Oh my god! ¡Holy chingada!
Okay, so I think shrieking is to shout in a very high-pitched voice.
Exactly, that's to shriek. Okay, so we saw 4 really great words in language takeaway, and why don't we listen now to the dialogue for a second time, a little bit slower, and then we'll come back and look at the differences between simple past and past progressive.
Mike, what's going on, man? Long time no see.
Hey, Pat. Yeah, I haven't seen you in ages. How's it going?
Things are going great. It's funny running into you like this. Small world, eh? You know, just last week I ran into Matt as well.
Yeah? How's he doing?
He's doing well. We went out for a couple of beers, and the funniest thing happened.
Oh, yeah?
Well, we were talking and catching up on what we've been doing, talking about work and family, when all of a sudden, Matt saw a mouse run under his chair, and he completely lost it. He started freaking out and screaming.
Really?
Yeah, and the funniest thing was, then he jumped on his chair and started shrieking like a girl. You should have been there. Everyone was staring and laughing. It was hilarious.
Okay, so there was a lot of different uses of past tense here in this dialogue, wasn't there?
Yeah, since he was telling a story that happened, he used the past a lot.
Well, let's now, as promised, look at past simple and past progressive in Grammar Breakdown.
Grammar breakdown.
Okay, Marco, before we start our discussion, why don't we hear one example of past simple and one example of past progressive?
You know, just last week I ran into Matt as well. Well, we were talking and catching up on what we've been doing.
Okay, so we heard that just last week I ran into Matt. So we discussed what run into means.
Yep, to meet someone by surprise.
All right. And now this structure is the simple past, right?
Yep.
Now the second example that we heard was we were talking and catching up.
Okay, so let's look at the difference in meaning here. I ran into Matt. Happened in the past, right?
Right. Simple past.
But one moment in the past.
So the action finished, concluded.
Started and finished all around the same time. So it's one simple moment.
Okay. Now the other example is in the past progressive. So the action was happening for a longer period of time.
Yeah. Okay, so let's attach some times to this. Maybe you ran into Matt at 8:04. Okay, and so the action started at 8:04, but you were talking and catching up from 8:05 until 9:05.
Okay, so you were talking for an hour.
Right. So it's the past progressive you use when the action is happening for a longer period of time.
Okay, so to better understand this, let's have another example.
Matt saw a mouse run under his chair, and he completely lost it. Everyone was staring and laughing.
So as we heard in the example, he saw a mouse run under his chair.
So a quick action that started and finished quickly.
Okay, he saw the mouse and it ran under the chair.
Yep.
Now, the second example we heard was everyone was staring and laughing.
So maybe this happened over 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay, so people were looking at him and laughing and talking about how he was screaming like a girl.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the main difference between the simple past and the past progressive. The amount of time that the action happened.
Yep. All right, well, now that we understand a little bit more about the past tense, why don't we hear it again in context by listening to the dialogue for a third time?
Mike, what's going on, man? Long time no see.
Hey, Pat. Yeah, I haven't seen you in ages. How's it going?
Things are going great. It's funny running into you like this. Small world, huh? You know, just last week I ran into Matt as well.
Yeah? How's he doing?
He's doing well. We went out for a couple of beers, and the funniest thing happened.
Oh, yeah?
Well, we were talking and catching up on what we've been doing, talking about work and family, when all of a sudden, Matt saw a mouse run under the chair and he completely lost it. He started freaking out and screaming.
Really?
Yeah, and the funniest thing was, then he jumped onto his chair and started shrieking like a girl. You should have been there. Everyone was staring and laughing. It was hilarious.
Okay, perfect. So now that we understand the words and the grammar behind it, there are some interesting phrases here that you can use casually with your friends.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of great sort of meeting and greeting and saying hello language.
So for example, when they met up, since they were old friends, he said, "Hey, Pat."
Hey.
Okay, so this word "hey,"
It's kind of like hi.
it's hi, right?
Yeah.
And normally you would use it to get somebody's attention, right? Like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm over here." or
Hey,
something.
waiter.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in this case, like, "Hey, how's it going?" or "Hi."
Yeah, so it's a really friendly and informal way of saying hi.
Okay. And then he asked, "How's it going?"
How's it going?
So again, this is a way of saying, "How are you?"
Yeah, Marco, what's the correct answer to this greeting?
Well, for example, he said things are going great, right? You can say, "Yeah, things are great," or "I'm doing well,"
Yeah.
or
Even great, you know?
Great, yeah.
So how's it going?
"Oh, it's great,"
Yeah.
right? Now, another one that we didn't see in the dialogue, but it's very popular, is when somebody asks, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah, what's up? So again, what is the right way to answer this question?
All right. So when somebody says, "What's up?" you can say, "Well, not much." Or if maybe you have news or something that you want to share, you would say, "Well, I just got back from the doctor's office."
Yep.
Right? But you wouldn't say "fine, thank you," or you wouldn't say "very good," or any of these other common answers to "what's up."
That's
it can
right.
be a little bit tricky.
Yeah, so the rule is the normal thing to say when someone says, "Hey, what's up?" is nothing much.
Not much.
Yep.
All right. So interesting ways of greeting casually with people, right? You wouldn't use this for with your boss maybe, or in an office setting.
Yeah, more useful with your friends.
Okay.
Have you ever run into someone you haven't seen in ages and ended up sharing a story full of surprises and laughter? Let's explore how to bring those moments to life in English so your listener feels like they were right there with you. Yeah, so, when you're walking down a busy street, enjoying the fresh air, when suddenly you see an old friend you haven't met in years. You didn't plan it, you weren't expecting it, it just happened. This kind of surprise meeting is what we call running into someone. It's one of those small but exciting moments in life. And today, we're going to explore how to talk about moments like this in English. We'll learn useful expressions, interesting vocabulary, and also a bit of grammar that will make your stories sound natural and engaging. When you want to say that you haven't seen someone for a really long time, you can use the phrase, "I haven't seen you in ages." This doesn't mean you are counting actual ages. It's just a friendly way to exaggerate and say it's been a long time. For example, "I haven't been to the beach in ages," or "It's been ages since we had lunch together." These little exaggerations make your English sound more colorful and alive. Now, picture this. You run into an old friend at the cafe. You might say, "Hey, it's funny running into you here." The phrase funny here doesn't always mean something is hilarious. It can mean unusual or surprising. And running into is simply meeting someone unexpectedly. You can also use this phrase for future situations, like, I hope I run into you at the festival next month. Once you start talking with your friend, you might catch up on things. This means you share what's been happening in your life since you last met. Work, family, hobbies, or even funny stories. You could say, we spent the whole afternoon catching up on everything. Notice that catch up on is not only for people. You can catch up on work, sleep, or even a TV series you've missed. When telling stories about these moments, you'll often use two important verb tenses in English, the past simple and the past continuous. The past simple is for quick, finished actions in the past, like, I ran into Emma yesterday. The past continuous, also called the past progressive, is for actions that were in progress at a certain time in the past, like, I was drinking coffee when Emma walked in. Mixing these two tenses makes your storytelling richer and more vivid. To make your story even more engaging, you can add descriptive language about emotions and reactions. If someone loses it, it means they completely lose control of their emotions, usually in a negative way. For example, when he saw the mess in the kitchen, he lost it. On the other hand, freak out can be negative or positive. She freaked out when she saw the spider, or he freaked out when he got the job offer. Both expressions make your storytelling feel more real and full of life. Another detail you can add is body language. If someone stares, they look at something for a long time, often without realizing it. For example, everyone stared when the fireworks began. And if someone shrieks, they make a loud, high-pitched cry, often from surprise, fear, or excitement. You could say, she shrieked when she found the winning lottery ticket. Learning these phrases and grammar points will not only help you tell better stories, but also help you understand native speakers when they talk about their own surprising encounters and funny moments. It's about painting a picture with words so your listener can imagine the scene as clearly as if they were there with you. Yeah, so think about a time when something unexpected happened while you were in the middle of doing something else. These moments are perfect for practicing how to mix the past simple and the past continuous in English. The past simple describes quick, completed actions, while the past continuous describes what was happening over a longer period in the past. Combining them helps you tell stories that feel alive and real. I was reading quietly when the dog jumped on me. I was reading quietly when the dog jumped onto me. Was reading is past continuous because it was an ongoing action, and jumped is past simple because it happened quickly and was complete. You can use this same structure for all kinds of situations. I was cooking dinner when the phone rang. We were walking home when it started to rain. She was watching TV when she heard a strange noise. This is how you make your storytelling clear and easy for the listener to follow, step by step. Now, let's add some emotion and description to make your story more engaging. If the little dog in the park was super excited, maybe it started freaking out with joy, running in circles, wagging its tail like crazy. If you were shocked, maybe you lost it for a moment, laughing so hard that people around you began to stare. Using these expressions makes your language sound natural, just like native speakers. Body language is also a big part of storytelling. Imagine everyone in the park stopping to stare at the scene. Maybe a child nearby shrieked with excitement when they saw the playful dog. These little details make your listener feel like they are part of the moment, not just hearing about it. Yeah, so, run into, catch up on, lose it, freak out, stare, and shriek works beautifully in many situations, not just in funny or surprising stories. You can use them when talking about real-life events, films, books, or even news stories. For example, I ran into my old teacher at the supermarket, or I caught up on my favorite TV show last night. The more you practice combining past simple and past continuous with interesting vocabulary, the more confident you'll become. Your stories will have a natural rhythm, and your listener will be able to picture exactly what happened, when it happened, and how everyone reacted. This skill is one of the most powerful tools for making your English sound fluent and alive. One of the best ways to improve your English storytelling is to focus on building a scene in the listener's mind. This means describing not just what happened, but also what was going on around you. Using the past continuous is perfect for this because it lets you set the background for your main action. Yeah, for example, we were talking and enjoying our coffee when we heard a loud crash. Here, we're talking and was playing, create the atmosphere, and heard is the quick action that interrupts the scene. Yeah, so adding emotions can make your story even more vivid. If the crash in the kitchen was followed by a waiter spilling drinks everywhere, you might say, the waiter completely lost it when the tray slipped from his hands. Or the customers near the kitchen freaked out when the glasses shattered on the floor. These emotional expressions help your listener connect to the story and feel what the people in it felt. Yeah, so everyone stared for a few seconds, and then the whole cafe burst into laughter. I was trying to hold back my laughter, but when my friend made a funny face, I completely lost it. Or I was going to take another sip of coffee, but I freaked out when I realized there was a bee near my cup. These kinds of moments keep your listener curious and entertained. Yeah, so when you're telling stories in English, think of your words like a movie camera. The past continuous gives the wide view, showing the background and ongoing actions. The past simple gives the quick, clear shots of what suddenly happened. And emotional expressions like lose it, freak out, stare, and shriek add the close-up moments that make your story unforgettable. Sometimes the most memorable stories come from very ordinary days that take an unexpected turn. These are perfect opportunities to practice describing events in a way that feels natural and exciting. The key is to guide your listener through the scenes step by step, mixing background details with sudden actions. Picture this. You're walking home from work, the sun was setting, and the streets were busy with people hurrying in different directions. Cars were honking, street vendors were calling out to customers, and music was drifting from a nearby cafe. Then, out of nowhere, you ran into an old school friend. In English, you could say, I was walking home when I ran into my old school friend. The past continuous was walking, sets the scene, and the past simple, ran into, gives the quick, surprising action. This is where you can add friendly expressions to make the meeting sound real. You might say, I haven't seen you in ages, or what a small world. These phrases are common in everyday English and make your storytelling sound authentic. If your friend seemed overly excited to see you, you could say, she freaked out when she saw me standing there. Or, he completely lost it and started laughing so hard he could barely speak. Adding these emotional details helps your listener imagine the energy of the moment. Yeah, so I was hugging in the middle of the street. Apparently, someone stared at the two of us hugging, and someone shrieked nearby because a street performer made a surprising move. Describing these little background details makes your story richer and more visual. Yeah, so I started catching up on everything. Our jobs, our families, and even funny memories from school. We were laughing about an old class trip when a delivery bike almost ran into us. By combining the flow of past continuous with the clarity of past simple and adding natural expressions for emotions and reactions, you make even a short encounter sound like a scene from a movie. Your listener won't just hear the story, they'll see it, feel it, and remember it. Some of the funniest stories happen when unexpected events interrupt something ordinary. Using the past continuous lets you show what was happening, and the past simple gives that sudden, surprising moment. Together, they make your storytelling lively and easy to follow. I was eating dinner when I got a message from an old friend. You know, this kind of story, small emotional details can make a big difference. Maybe you freaked out because you were so happy to hear from them. Or perhaps you lost it laughing after reading a funny memory they shared. Expressions like these help your listener feel your excitement or surprise. I stared at my phone for a few seconds, trying to believe what I was seeing. Or my sister shrieked when she saw the photo he had sent. We were texting back and forth for an hour, catching up on everything we had missed. This structure works for so many real-life situations. You can use it to describe meeting people, hearing unexpected news, or reacting to sudden changes. By balancing background actions with quick events and mixing in emotion and body language, you make your storytelling sound natural, like something you would hear in real conversation. The more you practice, the more you'll notice that native speakers often tell stories this way. They don't just list events, they create a moving picture in the listener's mind, with both the steady flow of background action and the spark of surprising moments. Sometimes a story becomes unforgettable because of how people react in the moment. Reactions, both yours and those of others, can turn a simple event into something worth retelling many times. Using emotional expressions and descriptive language in English can make these reactions feel vivid and real to your listener. I was walking through the market when I heard someone shout my name. Here was walking sets the scene, and heard delivers the quick, surprising moment. Now, the fun part is describing the reaction. Maybe you completely lost it when you saw them, laughing, smiling, and talking all at once. Or maybe your friend freaked out, grabbing your arm and speaking so quickly you could barely understand them. These emotional details show the energy of the meeting and help your listener feel like they were standing there with you. Other people's reactions can also add depth to your story. Perhaps a few shoppers stared at you, wondering why two people were hugging in the middle of the market. Maybe a child nearby shrieked with surprise because they thought something exciting was happening. Adding these little background moments makes your storytelling richer and more believable. We started catching up on everything. Family news, old memories, and funny stories from school. You know, that phrase, catching up on, it's especially useful because it works in so many everyday situations. It's a natural, friendly way to describe reconnecting after time apart. By weaving together past continuous for the background, past simple for sudden actions, and emotional expressions for reactions, you can transform a short meeting into a memorable, engaging story. It's not just about the event, it's about the atmosphere, the feelings, and the way people respond. Those are the details that keep your listener interested from beginning to end. Sometimes the best way to make a story memorable is to focus on the little details that most people would overlook. These small pieces of information, sounds, movements, facial expressions, can bring your story to life in a way that simple facts cannot. I was sitting in the park when a man ran past, chasing his hat. What makes this story entertaining is how you describe what happened next. Maybe the man completely lost it when his hat landed in a fountain. Or maybe he freaked out because it was a brand new hat. These expressions capture strong emotions and make the moment more dramatic. Several people stared, some pointing and laughing, while a little girl shrieked with excitement. To make the story even more vivid, you can describe your own thoughts or feelings. I tried not to laugh, but when the hat floated away like a little boat, I completely lost it. This makes your storytelling more personal and relatable. By combining background actions with sudden events and layering in emotions, you create stories that are not just informative, but entertaining. The balance of past continuous for the scene, past simple for the key moments, and expressive vocabulary for emotions helps your listener stay engaged from the first word to the last. It's a storytelling skill that works for both everyday conversations and more formal situations. Some stories stay with you, not because they were big or life-changing, but because of the way they unfolded. The mix of setting, surprise, and emotion. When you can bring all of these elements together in English, your storytelling becomes more than just sharing information. It becomes an experience for your listener. I was reading quietly when I heard a loud crash. I looked up and saw that someone had dropped an entire stack of books. I was reading quietly when I heard a loud crash. The real magic happens when you describe the reactions. Maybe the person who dropped the books completely lost it, mumbling apologies while trying to pick them up quickly. Or maybe they freaked out because they realized they had broken the library's display stand. Around the room, people stared, and one student near the crash shrieked before covering their mouth in embarrassment. These details turn a simple moment into something lively and memorable. I was trying to keep a straight face, but the more I watched, the more I wanted to laugh. Yeah, so by using past continuous to set the stage, past simple for the sudden moments, and expressive phrases like lose it, freak out, stare, and shriek, you give your stories rhythm and color. You're not just telling what happened, you're guiding your listener through the moment as if they were there. And that is the beauty of mastering these skills. Even the smallest everyday moments can become stories worth telling. Stories that bring smiles, surprise, and connection.
Have you ever run into an old friend after many years and ended up laughing about the funniest, most unexpected memories? In today's story, that's exactly what happens, so listen closely and think about the last time life surprised you like that. It was one of those warm afternoons when you don't expect anything unusual to happen. I had just finished work and decided to take the long way home through the park. The sun was low, The air smelled fresh, and a gentle breeze carried the sound of children playing in the distance. I was walking slowly, enjoying the moment, when I suddenly heard someone call my name. "Mike! Mike, is that you?" I turned around and saw a familiar face. Pat, my old friend from school. I couldn't believe it. "Pat, wow, long time no see," I said, walking toward him. We hadn't met in years, and here he was standing right in front of me. Pat laughed. "Yeah, I haven't seen you in ages. What are you doing here?" We shook hands, and I told him about my new job and how I had moved into an apartment nearby. It was funny running into him like this. The city was big, but somehow the world felt small in that moment. We stood there, catching up on each other's lives. Pat told me about his work, his family, and some of the funny things that had happened recently. As he spoke, I noticed how easily we fell back into our old rhythm, laughing, joking, and remembering the past. Then Pat leaned in slightly, his eyes bright with amusement. "You won't believe what happened to me last week. I ran into Matt. You remember Matt, right?" "Of course," I replied. "How's he doing?" "He's fine," that said, grinning. "But we went out for a couple of beers, and while we were talking, something happened that I'll never forget. We were sitting in this little bar, talking about work and family, when suddenly Matt's eyes went wide. He saw a tiny mouse run under his chair, and he completely lost it." I laughed, imagining the scene. But Pat wasn't finished. He jumped up onto his chair, started freaking out and shrieking like a little kid. Everyone in the bar stopped what they were doing and stared at him. People were laughing so hard, even the bartender couldn't keep a straight face. I couldn't stop laughing as Pat told me the story. In that moment, I realized how much I had missed these random, funny encounters with old friends. Life had been busy, but sometimes the best memories came from the moments you didn't plan at all. After Pat finished telling me the story about Matt and the mouse, we both stood there laughing like we hadn't in years. I could almost picture the whole scene, Matt's face frozen in shock, his hands waving wildly in the air, and that high-pitched shriek echoing through the bar. It was the kind of story that once you heard it, you knew you would tell others again and again. When our laughter finally died down, Pat shook his head. "I swear, Mike, it was like something out of a comedy movie. The whole place was staring at him, and he didn't even care. He just kept shouting until the mouse ran away." "Poor Matt," I said, still smiling. "He's probably never going back to that bar." "Oh, trust me, he's not," Pat replied. "He told me he's sticking to places with outdoor seating from now on. No more surprises under the table." We decided to walk together for a while, heading in the direction of my apartment. It felt good to catch up after so many years apart. We talked about old classmates, about the teachers we used to have, and about the silly things we did in school. Every now and then we would start laughing again whenever one of us remembered Matt's dramatic reaction to the mouse. As we walked, I found myself wondering how many other funny moments I had missed while being so caught up in work and daily responsibilities. Life had become a routine for me. Wake up, go to work, come home, repeat. But seeing Pat reminded me of something important. Sometimes you have to slow down and leave room for these little surprises. When we reached the corner near my street, Pat stopped. "Hey, we should all meet up sometime. You, me, and Matt. Maybe grab a drink, but somewhere mouse-free." I laughed. "Yeah, I'd like that. It's been too long since the three of us hung out." We said goodbye, and I watched him walk away feeling a strange mix of happiness and nostalgia. That short, unexpected meeting had brought back so many good memories. And more than that, it had reminded me how valuable old friendships really are. As I headed home, I couldn't stop thinking about the look on Matt's face in Pat's story. The image was so clear in my mind that I found myself smiling the entire way. I didn't know it yet, but that afternoon would be the start of a chain of events that would bring even more unexpected reunions and maybe even more hilarious moments into my life. The next morning, I woke up still smiling about Pat's story. It had been years since I'd laughed that hard, and the memory kept playing in my head like a short film. As I made coffee, I thought about how strange it was that a simple walk through the park had brought back a piece of my past I didn't even realize I was missing. Around midday, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Pat. "Hey Mike, talk to Matt. He's in for a meetup this weekend. You free?" I didn't even hesitate. "Absolutely. Just tell me where and when." A few minutes later, Pat replied with the details. Saturday evening at a small cafe downtown. I remembered the place. It had big windows, comfortable chairs, and, most importantly, no history of mouse sightings. Saturday came quickly. I arrived at the cafe a little early, the warm smell of fresh coffee filling the air as I stepped inside. I chose a table near the window and sat down, watching people pass by on the street. A few minutes later, Pat walked in, smiling and waving. We exchanged a quick handshake before settling into our seats. "Matt should be here any minute," Pat said. "I warned him we might tease him a bit about the mouse." I grinned. Oh, there's no way we're letting him forget that. Not long after, the door opened and in walked Matt. He looked the same as I remembered. Tall, a little serious looking, but with a smile that could break at any moment into laughter. As soon as he saw us, his face lit up. "Mike, man, it's been forever," he said, pulling me into a quick hug. "And Pat, well, I'm not sure I should be talking to you after what you told him." Pat laughed. "Hey, you know I couldn't keep that story to myself." We ordered drinks and started catching up. The conversation flowed easily, jumping from old memories to updates about our lives now. At one point, Pat couldn't resist bringing up the mouse incident again. And Matt groaned. All right, Matt said, holding up his hands. "Yes, I freaked out, but in my defense, that thing came out of nowhere, and it was huge, like cat-sized." I laughed so hard, I nearly spilled my coffee. "A cat-sized mouse? Now that's a new detail." Matt shrugged with a grin. "Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, but still, it wasn't my finest moment." The evening stretched on, filled with laughter, stories, and the easy comfort of old friendship. As the cafe began to close for the night, I realized just how much I had missed them. Life had pulled us in different directions, but sitting there together felt as if no time had passed at all. When we finally stood to leave, Pat clapped a hand on my shoulder. "We can't wait years before doing this again. Let's make it a regular thing." Matt nodded. "Agreed. And next time, no mice allowed." We stepped out into the cool night air, promising to meet again soon. As I walked home, I felt lighter somehow, as if reconnecting with them had unlocked a part of me I didn't realize was closed. A week later, we met again, this time at Pat's apartment. He had invited both Matt and me over for dinner, promising homemade pasta and a surprise for dessert. I arrived first, carrying a bottle of wine as a small thank you. Pat greeted me at the door wearing an apron and already looking like he had been hard at work in the kitchen. The warm smell of garlic and tomatoes filled the air. "Perfect timing," he said with a grin. "Dinner's almost ready. Matt should be here any minute." Sure enough, 5 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. Matt stepped inside, holding a bag from a bakery. "Figured I'd bring something sweet, just in case your surprise isn't sweet enough," he teased. We all laughed, and soon we were sitting around Pat's table, bowls of steaming pasta in front of us. The food was delicious, and the conversation flowed even more easily than at the cafe. We talked about everything: old friends, embarrassing moments, even a few dreams for the future. At one point, Pat leaned back in his chair and smirked. "So, Matt, any mouse encounters lately?" Matt groaned loudly, but couldn't hide his smile. "No, thank goodness, and I see you're still making that the highlight of every conversation." "It's not my fault, it's the best story I've heard in years." We laughed until our sides hurt, and for a moment it felt like we were back in our school days, carefree, loud, and full of life. After dinner, Pat brought out his surprise dessert, a giant chocolate cake shaped like a mouse. The moment Matt saw it, he froze, then burst out laughing. "You're unbelievable," he said, shaking his head. "But I have to admit, that's pretty creative." We took pictures, cut the cake, and spent the rest of the night eating, joking, and sharing stories. As the evening wore on, I realized just how special this time was. In the business of life, moments like this were rare. Moments when the people you care about are all in the same room, laughing about nothing and everything. When it was time to leave, we stood at the door, promising again that this wouldn't be the last time. Walking home under the quiet night sky, I thought about how lucky I was. We might not see each other every day, or even every month, but we had something that distance and time couldn't take away. A friendship that could pick up right where it left off, no matter how much time it passed. That night I fell asleep smiling, already looking forward to the next time we'd all be together.
Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
A greeting phrase.
How are you?
An informal way of calling a person.
Man. Long time no see.
For a long time.
In ages.
A phrase you use to respond to a greeting.
I am doing great.
Meeting someone accidentally.
Run into.
Learn about recent past events.
Catch up on.
Show a lot of emotion but not be able to control emotions.
Freak out.
Screaming in a very high voice.
Shriek.
Look at something for a long time with great attention.
Stare.
Very amusing.
Hilarious.
Lose control of your emotions. Show strong negative emotions.
Lose it.
Go crazy. Lose control of yourself.
Go nuts.
A very fun time or a funny event.
A riot.
Very silly or unreasonable.
Ridiculous.
Very strange or unusual.
Bizarre.
A short, amusing story.
Anecdote. Let's try that faster.
Learn about recent past events.
Catch up on.
Look at something for a long time with great attention.
Stare.
Very silly or unreasonable.
Ridiculous.
Meeting someone accidentally.
Run into.
A short, amusing story.
Anecdote.
A phrase you use to respond to a greeting.
I am doing great.
A greeting phrase.
How are you?
An informal way of calling a person.
Man.
A very fun time or a funny event.
A riot.
Show a lot of emotion but not be able to control emotions.
Freak out.
Screaming in a very high voice.
Shriek.
Very strange or unusual.
Bizarre.
Lose control of your emotions. Show strong negative emotions.
Lose it.
For a long time.
In ages.
Very amusing.
Hilarious. Long time no see.
Go crazy. Lose control of yourself.
Go nuts. Now say the word and hear it in a sentence. I've been waiting here for ages. It's been ages since I saw you. I lived in France ages ago. Lose it. When I told my boss that I would be late, he totally lost it. Lose it. If you do that one more time, I'm going to lose it. Lose it. I found out that the flight was canceled and I started crying. I completely lost it. Freak out. Oh my gosh, I'm going to meet Justin Timberlake. I'm totally freaking out. Freak out. Why did you freak out when I told you I'd be late for dinner? Freak out. Don't freak out. We can solve this problem in 5 minutes. Run into. I have not seen Sally for 5 years. Then I ran into her at the park. Run into. I'm sure we'll run into each other next week. Run into. If you run into Tom, don't tell him that you know me. Stare. I know that dog has 3 legs, but stop staring at him. Stare. The painting is so beautiful. I could stare at it for hours. Stare. He stared into my eyes and then told me he loves me.
Have you ever unexpectedly run into an old friend and found yourself instantly reminiscing about the past? Those moments can turn an ordinary day into something to remember. Recent studies in language learning show that storytelling using real-life events helps learners retain vocabulary and grammar up to 40% better than rote memorization. Let me share a case. Last month, I was walking through a crowded park after work when I suddenly heard my name. It was my high school friend Pat, whom I hadn't seen in ages. Within minutes, we were laughing about old memories, catching up on our lives, and reliving the funniest moments as if no time had passed. Some might wonder, is it really useful to focus on these chance meetings for language practice? I understand the skepticism after all. Not everyone has dramatic reunions. But even simple, everyday encounters offer the perfect context for practicing natural conversation, greetings, and storytelling skills. So next time you have a surprise encounter, use it as an opportunity to practice new expressions like long time no see or I haven't seen you in ages. These phrases make your English sound authentic and help your listener feel like they're right there with you. Do you ever struggle to describe what was happening in the background when something surprising occurred? Choosing the right tense can transform your story from flat to fascinating. A Cambridge University analysis found that the most engaging English stories mix past simple for sudden actions and past continuous for ongoing scenes, creating clarity and emotional resonance. Think about the story of Matt and the mouse. Pat was telling me about his day when, all of a sudden, Matt saw a mouse run under his chair. He completely lost it, jumping up, shrieking, and causing the whole bar to stare. But some learners ask, isn't it confusing to switch tenses in one sentence? That's a fair concern. Yet, using both tenses together lets you set the scene and highlight the unexpected, keeping your listener engaged and your meaning clear. To put this into action, try combining both tenses in your own stories. I was having dinner when my phone rang. Or, we were catching up on old times when the power went out. This structure brings your storytelling to life and helps your listener follow every twist. How can you make your stories more colourful and relatable? The answer often lies in the way you describe emotions and reactions. According to the Oxford English Corpus, learners who use expressive phrases like lose it, freak out, stare, and shriek are 35% more likely to connect with their audience and be remembered. Consider this. During Pat's story, when Matt saw the mouse, he didn't just react, he completely lost it, freaked out, and shrieked so loudly that everyone in the bar stopped to stare. The vivid language made it easy to picture the scene and feel the energy in the room. Of course, you might worry that these phrases are too informal or dramatic for everyday use, but in reality, they're common in both casual conversations and storytelling, and using them appropriately helps your English sound natural and alive. Next time you share a personal story, try weaving in these expressions. Describe not just what happened, but how people felt and reacted. This technique will make your stories stand out and keep your listeners hanging on every word. What makes a story unforgettable in English? It's not just about the events. It's about how you guide your listener through every moment, blending structure and detail. Linguistic research shows that stories which balance background description, sudden actions, and emotional reactions are more engaging and memorable for listeners, especially when told with natural phrasing and rhythm. Let's revisit our friends. After the mouse incident, Pat, Matt, and I caught up on everything jobs, families, and funny old memories. We were laughing so hard that people around us started to stare, and Pat even brought a surprise dessert, a chocolate cake shaped like a mouse. The night was filled with emotion, surprise, and laughter, making it a story we'd tell again and again. Some learners may say, "But my life isn't full of dramatic moments." That's okay. What matters is how you describe even the smallest details, from a spilled coffee to a shared joke. Every ordinary day can become a story worth telling with the right language and structure. So, practice setting the scene with the past continuous, highlight surprises with the past simple, and add expressive vocabulary to show reactions. With these tools, you'll turn everyday experiences into vibrant, memorable stories that connect you with any listener.